Hey everyone, Sylvie here from Halstead, and today I am sitting down with Emilie Shapiro, who is our 2026 guest grant judge. But today she is here to talk about some important things with your business, like dead inventory, aka stuff that doesn't sell.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, not the most fun topic.
It happens to everyone, and I'm happy to share some suggestions and tips that I find work for me.
All right, so let's dive into it. Are you going to sell every piece of jewelry that you make?
No.
Short answer? No.
The end. I mean, obviously, especially as you're starting out, you know, a lot of this will be trial and error, and you have to find out what works for you. Personally, most of my pieces are made to order. I have one sample of every piece, and then it depends on the channel that I'm selling, but generally that sample would be sold first and then I would remake it. Or if it's a wholesale account, that would be the sample they're seeing and then I would make it for them. This works really well for me because I don't end up with a lot of inventory. You know, that could end up being dead stock or whatever you want to call it. But I do discontinue things from time to time. Of course, every season I say goodbye to the pieces that don't do well or are problematic. And so the first way that I would get rid of inventory would be to put it on sale. That's the way that I would be getting the most money for it. If you're putting it on, you know, let's say for me, I do 30% off retail. You know, I certainly have customers who are waiting for those sales. I know that's the kind of shopper I am.
Yeah,
when I'm buying things.
We love a sale.
I love a sale. So that's kind of like my first order of command would be putting things on sale.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, you kind of dove right into one of our next questions is like, how do you deal with dead inventory or decrease it? And how often might you do that?
So before I introduce a new collection, so I generally do 2 collections a year. Sometimes I do a 3rd capsule, but I will always be discontinuing things before I introduce new items. And so even if you've had a piece that has been for sale for a little bit, I think even just like doing your email blast, your Instagram, all your social media, that there's a sale will often like generate some buzz around that.
Right.
So I find that to be usually relatively successful. Again, that's like my first line of defense because you are getting like the most money for it.
Right, absolutely. What percent, well, first of all, is dead stock or dead inventory normal? And
Absolutely.
what percent of like a collection or new work can you maybe anticipate not selling?
Yeah, I think it's normal for everyone. If you're finding that, you know, you're having so much excess, this is definitely a good sign to like pull back and reassess and say, why do I have this much, you know, excess? Is there a way that I can cut down on this? Is there a way that I can cut down on this and maybe reassess like what it is that you're doing? I think it's different for everybody, but you know, I would generally say I would probably be discontinuing anywhere from 10 to 20% of things that I had for the last season if you're reintroducing that much.
Right.
You know, I think also there's a lot of different types of business models, whereas I do remake things. There are people who might just do like releases and just kind of do it with that one time. Yep. So I think that you might have to get a little creative too. But yeah, absolutely, like dead inventory is par for the course.
Yeah. What are some ways that you can prevent dead inventory from even accumulating in the first place?
Being made to order is a really good one. It's very typical for jewelry to be made to order. Of course, if you're doing like retail markets and things like that, you are of course going to need some inventory, but maybe limiting.
Right. You can't show up and only have no pieces to sell at a market.
Correct. But you know, start slow and take notes. And you can kind of figure it out from there, like what is selling and what's not. But you know, if you are selling more predominantly online, or maybe even wholesale, being made to order is a really great option, because then you are, you know, this way you don't get stuck with a lot of leftover. You know, with all of that leftover stuff. Like I was saying, my first line of defense is to put it on sale, 30% off. Another thing that I do is once a year I have a sample sale. This is something that I actually do online and has become like wildly successful for me. And so I do it once a year, the same time every year, and I have a box.
People follow it.
There are certainly people who are only shopping this. I have a box all year. Like, let's say I had things that broke, weird random things, whatever. We call it the graveyard. We put it in the graveyard all year, and then when there's a little downtime, we make stuff from our little graveyard pile. Even if it's really simple, like putting a chain on something, putting a bell on something. Maybe it was something that has been on sale for a while that just never sold. But so I am actually actively like making things, and we try to get really, really scrappy. And I keep the prices super low because this is stuff I have already. Like I'm not buying things for this. And then, so I do it online. I tried it in person once, and personally for me, it was so much easier to like just put it all online. I even take all the pictures with my phone. Like
it's super low budget.
I try to do, as low budget as I can. And again, to like keep the prices really low because people will really, really buy. I even sell stones. This is a really good thing to do with like your stones. I mean,
if you have leftover from an old collection,
why not?
Not gonna use again or something like that.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
that's great.
Even if you're selling it for the same thing that you bought it, who cares? You're breaking even and you're not losing, or even a little less. I mean, at this point, that's just a really good way to like raise some capital. And I have people who like only shop the sample sale. And for me, I do it in a time of year that I know is particularly slow for cash flow. August is a really tough time of year for me because I'm spending a lot of money ramping up for the holiday season, but I don't have that much coming in yet. So again, that doesn't mean that you have to be making it all in August. If you get in a routine of this, like I do in my own studio, we're planning for this all year long. And again, if you have slower times of year, built-in days that you're like, okay, I'm doing a few hours of like sample sale prep, and it really, really has solved like this cash flow issue that I always had that time of year.
And the longer you're in business, you'll start to notice these things on your books over the years. So you can go back, review them, find out what that slow time is for you, because it might not be the same as Emily's. Maybe it's July or something.
Sure, absolutely. And then the other thing that I do with the sample sale is to make sure that it's categorized really well. Put it in a plastic bag, however you want to give it some sort of a SKU, and keep it organized. That SKU is written like on my website, and then whatever doesn't sell that year, it just stays in the box till next year.
It's already been put in the graveyard box.
It's already been put in the graveyard box.
Do you ever bring any of the dead stock or sale items to trunk shows, events, markets, anything kind of out of your ordinary sales channels?
Yeah, I've definitely done that before. Many years ago, there was a time I had a relatively big footprint at like a craft retail market and had a whole table and it was like people went like bananas for it, and my other work still sold. And why not? Like, you could even do something that's maybe out of the ordinary for you, that it doesn't have to be a place you're normally selling, but just to kind of get rid of this and get some funds for it. I think would be really helpful. People love a deal.
I love a deal.
I love a deal. So sorry.
No, keep going.
You can even do, it doesn't even have to be that formal. You can do like an Instagram or a Facebook thing. I see people do this all the time. As long as you figure out a system that works for you. I see people post on their stories, and you would make sure you're like saying the rules. Say, okay, first person to send me their email, you're sending them an invoice. To me, that's always seemed like a little complicated. But I do know a lot of people do it, and that might work if you're only trying to offload like 20 pieces or something. I mean, when we do our sample sale, I have like hundreds, and it's crazy.
So if you've like put something on sale, and then maybe you've put it on bigger sale, or if you included it in, the sample sale, you've kind of like tried a couple lines of defense with dead stock, then what do you do? Like, do you consider scrap?
You could.
Or do you just like You're like, I'm just going to keep it on sale forever.
I think it depends. No, it definitely comes a time where you need to like come to terms with like figuring out some other options. I think it depends what it is. If these are gold pieces, maybe it might be time to just scrap them,
Right,
whether
or
you're
even
melting,
silver.
yeah, or silver for sure. Another thing you could do is you could donate these pieces. Let's say they're finished pieces somewhere, and there's a lot of great organizations that you could find to donate pieces, and
charities for their annual auction or something like that.
Could be auctions. I've donated things to. There's this great program in New York called Housing Works, and they provide like business casual wear for like women who are interviewing.
Yeah, there's a lot of places.
Yeah, a lot of things like that, and then you can use it as a tax write-off. Obviously, check with your accountant and all of these things, but you should be able to use it as a tax write-off. If you have supplies like. I've had like gemstones and things like that. Maybe look into seeing if there's like a local school that would take that. And again, you could use it as a tax write-off. Right. Again, check with your accountant on these things. I am not an accountant, but these are things that have worked for me. And then, why not? It's like if you have all this stuff collecting dust, that's like a really nice thing to do. Yeah, absolutely. And get creative. Like you can look into things like maybe there's like Girl Scouts who could use it, or lots of other like organizations. So I'd say like scrap is, I would normally reserve that
very last line of defense.
Yeah, well, I personally probably wouldn't be like donating solid gold pieces. I'd probably scrap that first.
Fair.
Like, no offense to anyone.
Your business still needs to be profitable.
Let's
just put it that way.
Yeah. So, but there's sitting in your studio collecting dust for many years is like not helping anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing you could do is like maybe you can reinvent some of these pieces and make some one of a kinds. I've done that too, especially like during COVID. I was like, this is what I have right here. What can I do with it?
Yeah.
I made some cool pieces.
Yeah.
Could be a fun design challenge for yourself too.
That's a fun one. I like that idea. Yeah. How does dead stock or inventory impact your cash?
Well, if you're selling it, that's a really good way to raise some cash.
Right.
But if you have
goes in both directions,
if you have a lot of it, you should really sit back and reassess why it is you have all this excess. I know I have been in positions in the past on projects where I was getting some things produced, like in India, for example, getting certain stones cut, and you had to have these higher quantities, and then I was left with all this leftover things, and it definitely made me reassess, like maybe this isn't a good idea for what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you gotta follow the cash, see where it's going.
We kind of talked about this a little bit already because you primarily do made to order. Is that something that maybe people should consider, like if they do have like certain styles or whatever kind of hanging around to convert them to made to order? And see how they continue to do, and then maybe discontinue later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're selling something online, having handmade jewelry be made to order is not an uncommon thing.
Right.
Make sure you're clear about your lead times. Make sure you're clear that it is a made to order piece and not in stock. Just make sure that all these expectations are clear. Absolutely. And how you can just be very upfront about all of that to limit questions. People still don't read and they will still have questions, but do everything that you can, to kind of be transparent about that.
Right.
And then maybe over time I have this one particular earring that we sell so much of it, so crazy. Those things I stock.
Right. Your daily drivers. So
yeah, absolutely. Have those, and again, these are things that you learn over time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of got to put some miles on your business to really see where those trends actually are.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. How low will you discount a dead stock item?
How low will you go
before you turn it into something else? Just donate it, whatever.
Yeah. For me personally, when we do sale, it's always standard that it's 30% off, and then I do 2 major sales a year where my whole website is 20% off, so you could get 20% off of a piece that's already so that would be 50%.
Okay.
I'm not going lower than that.
Right.
Yeah. But that's also another, like, let's say you do like a Black Friday thank you sale, one of your emails could be specific about up to 50% off, since it's 20% off our sales
section.
Yeah.
Right. Any other things you think to add that we didn't cover already?
No, I just would highly suggest the sample sale model.
Yeah.
It's something that's worked really, really well for me.
Yeah.
I also think like the more you do it, the bigger of like a following you'll have, and it doesn't have to be like a big thing. You can just start with, like I said, like a social media sale and see how it goes.
Made to order, definitely a good way to
if it works for you,
decrease some of this stuff.
Yeah, if it works for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's another really important thing to say though. What works for your business, right? Like something that works for Emilie maybe does not work for you or work for everybody. So keep that in mind. All right, well, thank you so much for passing along that info, because I think that's one of those things that like maybe you're a little bit afraid to talk about possibly, or like, you know, you're newer in your business career and you have these high hopes that everything's going to sell, but if it doesn't, it's normal. And how do we move past that and make it work for us?
Another thing to consider, which I've done once or twice, let's say you have like a lot inventory that you really needed to offload and you feel like you've kind of exhausted all of these things. There are liquidation companies. Like one that I've personally worked with before is called UAL, United Apparel Liquidators, I think. And you know, they'll come in and basically buy. I mean, they'll give you like not a huge amount, but it's a way to move everything all at once.
Right.
And they'll like send you a check. You send everything off to them, and you know they place it in their stores.
Okay. Kind of as a real last resort.
Yeah. I mean. There's like several of these companies, like that's just one example. You know, you can look into it, but as just a way, especially if you have like a large amount of something. Right. And again, then you should be sitting really down and really considering why you have so much. Of course, like, listen, we've all like made choices that, you know, you just learn from it and you pivot.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, thank you so much for sharing that.
My pleasure.
And we're grateful to Emilie for sharing her knowledge, and we'll see you at the next video.
See ya.
Thanks.